Watch the next few seconds. One by one, Prague visitors touch the same worn bronze relief, some for luck, others to guarantee their return to Prague. People crossing Charles Bridge stop at that statue, reach out and touch it, hoping that a saint who kept one secret so faithfully might grant them a wish of their own. In fact, this statue is famous enough that a travel site once ranked it among the 10 luckiest symbols in the world, right alongside rubbing Juliet's statue in Verona for love, or touching a bronze turtle's head at a temple in Vietnam for wisdom. But this ritual of Charles Bridge began with a man thrown into the Vltava, and the statue's real story is far darker than most tourists know. That man was John of Nepomuk, a 14th century priest whose death made him one of Bohemia's most powerful saints. Legend says he was thrown from this bridge after refusing to reveal the Queen's confession. Today, touching the bronze is said to bring luck or guarantee your return to Prague. The legend says that once upon a time, in the kingdom of Bohemia, lived a king who could not stop wondering what his wife was hiding from him. King Wenceslas IV had married Queen Sophie, and though the marriage was a good one by the standards of kings, Wenceslas grew suspicious. He believed his wife was unfaithful, and he became obsessed with proving it. But Sophie was a deeply pious woman, and if she ever confided her secrets to anyone, it would be to one man alone, her confessor, a priest named John of Nepomuk. John held a position of real trust in Prague. As vicar general to the archbishop, he heard confessions from across the city, including the Queen's own. And under the sacred seal of confession, whatever she told him was meant to stay between her, John, and God, never to be repeated to another living soul, not even a king. Wenceslas summoned John and demanded to know what the Queen had confessed. John refused. The king asked again, angrier this time, promising rewards, then threatening punishment. John still refused. He explained, as calmly as he could, that the seal of confession was sacred, that no power on earth, not even the crown, could compel him to break it. Furious, Wenceslas had John seized and tortured, hoping pain would succeed where threats had failed. It did not. John kept his silence through everything they did to him. So the king ordered him bound in chains and marched out onto the great stone bridge, crossing the Vltava river. Under cover of night, John was thrown from the bridge into the dark water below. He drowned in the river, still silent, holding the secret he had refused to give up. They say that as John's body sank beneath the surface, something extraordinary appeared above the water. 5 bright stars, forming a halo of light right where he had gone under, as if heaven itself was marking the place where a faithful man had died rather than break his word. His body was later recovered and given proper burial, and in time, the church came to honor him as a saint, the saint who chose silence and death over betrayal. Centuries later, a statue of John was placed on that very bridge, near the spot where he was thrown, crowned with the same 5 stars. The legend says once lit up the water above him. And to this day, people crossing Charles Bridge stop at that statue, reach out and touch it, hoping that a saint who kept one secret so faithfully might grant them a small wish of their own. Now, what is really true about this story? John of Nepomuk was real. He really did serve as vicar general in late 1300 in Prague under the archbishop, and he really was killed in March 1393 by order of King Wenceslas IV, thrown from a bridge into the Vltava. On that much, the history and the legend agree. But the reason for his death is far murkier than his refusal to reveal a queen's confession. In 1393, the head of a wealthy monastery near Prague died, and King Wenceslas saw an opportunity. He planned to block the election of a new abbot, dissolve the monastery, and pocket its assets to fund a new bishopric loyal to him instead. But the king was away, distracted, enjoying himself at one of his castles, and while he wasn't looking, the monks quietly elected a new abbot of their own. And it was John of Nepomuk who signed the paperwork. Wenceslas was enraged. Days later, John and 3 other church officials were seized. They were tortured. According to the account, the king himself was present when John was beaten, burned with the torch, and stretched on a rack. A forensic examination of his remains in 1993 confirmed the damage was severe. A fractured skull, a broken jaw, a shattered shoulder blade, bleeding in the brain. He likely never survived to be thrown off the bridge at all. The drowning may have just been the cover-up. And this cover-up didn't work. 4 weeks later, fishermen found his body floating in the river, and according to the accounts, they reported seeing 5 strange lights hovering around it in the water. That detail is almost certainly the actual origin of the 5 stars you now see circling his statue, not a later religious embellishment, but something written down by the people who pulled his body out of the Vltava. He was first buried in a monastery of the Crusaders, and later his remains were transferred to St. Vitus Cathedral. When his grave was opened in 1719, the remains of organic matter were found inside his skull. It was considered to be part of the tongue, and therefore a miracle that illustrates the legend of martyrdom for preserving the confessional secret. After that, John of Nepomuk was declared a saint. Today, among other things, he is the patron saint of shipbuilders, clergymen, and the confessional secret, and is invoked for protection against floods. John of Nepomuk is considered the patron saint of the Czech lands and is very famous abroad as well. There are 30,000 statues of him on European bridges alone, and he is also popular in Latin America and Asia. So, no queen, no secret, no noble martyrdom for the sanctity of confession, just a king throwing a fatal tantrum over losing control of an abbey, and a churchman who happened to be standing in the way of it. But the biggest twist in this whole story isn't about the 14th century at all. It's about our days. If you look at old photographs of the statue from 1890 or 1960, the bronze at the base shows no unusual wear at all. No shine, no polish, nothing to suggest generations of tourists reaching out to touch it for luck. That tradition, as far as anyone can trace it, appears to only be a few decades old. Some accounts point to right around 1989, after the fall of communism, when Prague opened up to Western tourism almost overnight, and enterprising locals began encouraging visitors to touch the statue for good luck, sometimes even charging a small fee for the privilege. So the martyrdom is medieval, the statue is Baroque from the 1680s, but the ritual millions of tourists now consider an ancient Prague tradition may be barely older than their smartphone. I'm the Prague Historian, uncovering the myths and the facts behind the legends. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. There are so many more Prague myths and stories I want to uncover. New episodes every week. Did you know there's a legendary knight on Charles Bridge standing guard just a few steps from this very statue, with a lion at his side that became the Czech national emblem? And his magic sword is buried somewhere in the stones of Charles Bridge? We'll find out in the next episode.